Okay, in this video I'm going to talk about how to build a raised bed, but before I do that, I'm going to talk about why you might want to build one. So raised beds, we're in my greenhouse right now, and so we build raised beds to create edges, essentially, and it basically delineates where we're growing versus where we're not growing. That's one reason, and so it makes sure that we're not standing on our soil. We create specific paths for pathways, and we create beds that we can grow our vegetables or plants in, that we're not standing on a regular basis. So when we get outside of a greenhouse, one of the main advantages of a raised bed is that the soil warms up faster, and so you usually get better germination. One of the disadvantages, because the soil warms up faster though, is that you end up having more evaporative losses, and so you tend to have to water raised beds quite a bit more. Another big advantage of raised beds is that you don't have to lean down as far, and so they're a bit more ergonomic to use. It's really nice to be able to work in a bed that's a little bit above grade. It's easier on your back, and so a lot of people like them for those main reasons. Now, raised beds are actually really easy to build. They're not complicated, and I'm going to give you a couple of hacks that will reduce the cost of them and also improve the longevity of it. If cedar is available in your region, cedar is a great material to use. It's rot resistant. It'll last for 10, 15 years. It looks really nice and it smells really nice. However, cedar is not available in a lot of locations, or it's not cost effective. And so just using kind of a spruce or a pine is fine. You won't get the kind of life out of the box that you would with cedar. But one of the ways to kind of prolong the life of these boxes, there's a couple of ways. One is to use rough cut lumber. And so rough cut lumber comes from typically a local sawmill. It's not going to come from Home Depot or from Lowe's. And rough cut lumber is actually a little bit thicker than dimensional lumber. So a 2x4 is 3.5 by 1.5. So 3.5 inches wide by 1.5. A rough cut version of a 2x4 is actually 2 inches by 3 inches, and so it has an extra ½ inch of material on it, which is going to give you that little bit of extra longevity in the raised bed. And it's also cheaper because it's rough cut. It doesn't have the same finish as a 2x4 or 2x6 or 2x8 that you would get from Home Depot. And so find a local sawmill and get whatever size material you want to get in order to and buy it in rough cut format so that you get a bit more material on the raised bed. These are pretty small raised beds. These are basically 2x6 high, and so they're not very big, but it's not uncommon to have a raised bed that's 3 feet tall. They take a lot more soil, obviously, but they're also a little bit further up, and so they're even easier to manage. One of the things that you want to think about in terms of, we've talked a little bit about height, and so that height is going to be an ergonomic thing. Another thing is the width of your raised bed. It's really important that you design your raised beds around the person that has the smallest arms in your house. So we like to think about our beds in terms of double arm reach or single arm reach. So double arm reach are beds that you can get to from either side of the raised bed, and the person that has the shortest arm can reach to the middle of the bed without having to get on top of the soil. And so we really want to design it around the people that are going to use it. Single arm reach beds are narrower and typically would go against the wall where you can't get access to the other side of the bed. These are actually less than single arm reach. We've really made them quite small because we wanted to have a variety of different beds in here. But you'll notice that each bed has a really good access way in between them so that we can get access to it whenever we need to. And so those are the basic principles of a raised bed. There's one other thing I've seen people do in order to create more longevity with wood boxes, and that is that they can put like a drip wrap on the inside, so it keeps the soil away from the wood, and there's no reason that that box won't last for 20 years. I've also seen people build raised beds out of sheet metal. People have made raised beds out of livestock waterers, which will last for a very long time because they're made out of galvanized metal. So there really is an unbelievable number of ways to do this. The main thing you have to think about is, do you actually need a raised bed, or is it going to improve how you garden, and is it worth the expense and the time to do it? And a lot of times the answer is yes. It just depends upon how many you need to have in your space. So we have a whole bunch of garden that's basically in the ground, so it's not raised bed. But we're also going to have a number of raised beds outside, kind of in our kitchen garden area, areas where we're going to use more on a regular basis, things for growing herbs, maybe some salad things we use on a regular basis. So for us, we like to have a combination of in the ground and raised beds, depending upon the frequency of use and proximity to our home. So hopefully that answered your questions about raised beds. If you have any other questions or comments, leave it in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.